Hello, thanks for tuning in. I'm here with another book recommendation after some time. So, these books I'll be recommending today are books from the series Småfolk or For Småfolk. You can find these online if you go to the website of the publisher, which is Couple and Dam. You can find these as Småfolk-serien, the Småfolk series. The series has 6 books. They are independent from each other and they are meant for kids. Yes. What's great for them, for language learners, for you as Norwegian learners, is that they are quite witty. So many of these books for kids, people get frustrated with because they are actually too silly or too simple or you don't like it, the vocabulary gets too irrelevant, or maybe just the topic is uninteresting. And this tends to be a problem with children's literature, that we really need to get ourselves into the mindset of, I'm working on my Norwegian here, I'll take whatever, right? With these books, you don't have to take whatever because they are interesting. That's what surprised me the most. The interesting thing that I realized, and that's good for you to realize as well, is that for a Norwegian book, or children's book even, to be worth reading, it really does not have to be fiction. Sometimes we are like, a book, that means fiction, right? And all these children's books, super irrelevant vocabulary, the topic of that fiction book is just like, I don't want to read it because I feel this is a waste of my time. These books in the Småfolk series, if you are interested in the topic a little bit, like Skogen, yeah, for me that's a nice topic. It feels relaxing. I really like going out there to the woods. I like to look at that kind of pictures. So for me that is interesting, and it has a lot of fun facts. It's written for kids. It's super simplified, but there are various facts that I actually like a lot. So I have learned a number of fun facts from these books that I didn't know before. I wasn't expecting that, and it surprised me very pleasantly. So that's why I recommend them as well. If you go to your local library and search for these books, you will find them in the section Faglitteratur, or Faglitteratur for barn, right? These are children's books. So in the children's section, you would have the skönlitteratur, which means fiction, and then you would have the faglitteratur, which means non-fiction. So if you head to the non-fiction faglitteratur section, you will find a lot of gems in there, and you can even find, even if you don't like any of the books from this series, there are 6 books in this series. Even if you don't like any of those topics, you can pick some other books in the same section, because you will surely find a topic that you are personally interested in, and that will also feed some relevant vocabulary that might be even connected to your own field of expertise to you, right? And of course, it's super simplified because it's for kids, but the core vocabulary still stays the same, and the ways of expressing things, they are there anyhow. So let me now just show you a little bit inside of these 2 books, these 2 examples from the Småfolk series that we picked up in the library when we last visited. So this one is called Fjæra for Småfolk. Fjære means ebb, like the when the sea is down, when you have the tide and then the ebb. So when the sea goes back, it goes down, and it's also the part of especially a stony beach that gets exposed when the water gets down, right? And then of course a lot of these small animals will appear. So that's what the book is about. I want to show you about kråkebolle on page 24. I like that because my sons were going to these baby swimming courses as babies, and the course for the smallest babies was called kråkebolle because they don't swim a lot, right? So this is what it looks like inside. There's a big picture, and the pictures are really nice. I kind of like them. And then there is a fun fact in here. Like here, it's about the 5 teeth that the kråkebolle has, and that's something I didn't know. I know what a kråkebolle looks like when you find one that is already dead, but here it's about like it has 5 teeth, and there is some information about how it feeds and how it lives, how it moves. or that it would have these needles on it that fall away when it's dead and so on. So the amount of text is approximately this. It's not too much, and it does include some facts that you probably didn't know about kråkebolle. Yeah, and now kråkebolle is something very random, of course, but maybe it's kind of close to your heart, right? And the pictures are very nice inside here. So yeah, this one is interesting as well. So there is a place called Knivkällan, and it was interesting for me to learn that actually Knivkäll is a real shell, like a kind of shell, and it looks like a knife or like the handle of a knife. And the place called Knivkällan is the cape that's just a few meters from North Cape, from Nordkapp. So if you're standing on the sight point at Nordkapp, you will see Knivkällan. So for me, being there, having been to Knivkällan, I was like, oh, Knivkäll, I like that, right? It's actually called after this shell, yeah. So if it's close to your heart, it's gonna be interesting. It's a little bit specialized vocabulary, but why not? Because the sentence structures are all the same as otherwise, and the vocabulary is not apart from the names of the animals and some parts of the sea and the structures around and maybe what they feed on and so on. It's basic vocabulary, right? So it's very good. We like this. My sons like this one as well. The other one, skogen, that's maybe even more commonplace. So if you like, I don't know, mushrooms or small animals in the woods, if you feel like, oh, this is close to my heart, this is interesting, you can have a look inside. I want to show you about blueberries. I wasn't expecting to learn anything about blueberries from a children's book, but I did. So I want to show you. So blueberries, blåbär. So again, there is a big picture like that. There is a fun fact. And what I learned about blueberries here that I didn't know on this one small page was that number one, blueberries could, like the bushes, like the single bush, could live up to 30 years. I didn't know that. So I was like, whoa, I like reading this book because I'm learning some new stuff here, right? And also, it says that a lot of forest animals feed on blueberries, and the animal that probably eats the most of them is mice. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So just a small page, but I learned 2 new fun facts about blueberries. So I really liked reading about this. A little disclaimer here. All children's books in Norwegian, I feel, that have to do with either biology or the body, whatever like that, there will be something about poop because it really sells to children. And I can see that with my own kids. If there is anything about poop, they're like, let's borrow that book, let's read it. So I get it. So if you hate that, don't borrow it. If you're okay with that, then just so that you know. Like, for example, you learn about the knivkäll, that it has 2 breathing tubes, pusterør, and then one is used to ingest food and the other one is for the poop, right? So that's a fun fact that kids appreciate, yeah? Or about elg, and you see the picture in here and it says, här har elgen bärsat. Har du funnit elgbärs i skogen? Right? So you don't have to answer those questions, but kids are interested in these. So that's just a disclaimer if you're not a fan of bärs. But if you don't mind, then these, I think you will really, really love them. I totally recommend. They have these 2, fjära, skogen. There is also about meadow flowers. There is one about small animals like insects. So if any of this is close to your heart, I urge you to go to your local Deichmanske bibliotek and borrow one of these in the Faglitteratur section. Let me know in the comments if you did, and let me know if you like to read faglitteratur for kids for learning purposes.